within Simple Sales Tracking, you have a fair amount of flexibility around how you want to set up security access permissions, and obviously have the ability to create new team members, add new users to your group. So all of this is done by the admin person in your group from the admin area. So click on admin, and by default it actually brings up the user list page. So you can see here's a list of all my the members of my team, and I can click add new user, for example, to add another user. I won't walk through those steps right now. It's the exact same as when you created, well, maybe we'll have a quick look. Um, that's it. So you'll choose a username and a password for the new team member, enter their first and last name, their email address, and you can choose whether they should be getting the daily tasks and appointments. This is actually something that each person can choose from um, their settings page as well, but you can choose the default as a starting point. Um, by default, as we mentioned in other videos, the first person in your team is usually the person who created the account, paid for the account, set it up. That person becomes the admin person by default. So in this case, they are an active user. In our case, Adam here, he's an active user. He's a manager, and he's also an admin. You can also you can actually have additional admin people. If you click on the pencil icon next to a person's name, you can make them a manager or an admin user. When we talk about the security access models, it'll make sense what manager is used for. But for now, we'll just talk about user and admin user. So a user is just someone who has access to the system, and an admin user is somebody who has access to this admin area. Within this list, you'll see there's the ability to edit people's permissions. We'll actually come back and talk about that in a second, but first I want to jump over to the security access model and let you know how this works. So the first thing to understand about access within the software is whether you want to start off in what's called an open model or a closed model. So if you are in an open model, you choose for your group to be in an open model. That means that any user who is part of your team, when they log in, they'll have access to anyone else's data. So this is really useful if if team members are collaborating on the same sales, if they're collaborating on tasks, just generally working together, then the open model is usually the best option to choose. But having said that, if it is in the open model, that means that each person does have the ability to also delete other people's records, and they can obviously view them and make changes to them. Now, if instead you want to have each team member isolated into to seeing only their own records, the ones that they create or those that are assigned to them, then you would choose the closed model, and you would just choose, you go through on the radio buttons here and save them. Now, if you are running in a closed model, and we go back to, of course, if you want to save this, you have to click the save button, but in this case, I'm going to leave it as open. If you are running in the open model, you still actually do have some flexibility around what people are able to do with other people's records. So, and this is where this column comes in. So, if you say right now we're running in the open model, Deborah here has the ability to edit any records, but optionally what we could do is edit her record here, and we could choose that she only actually has the ability to edit her own records. So she may be able to see what everyone else is doing and see all their other records, but she's not going to be able to make changes to them or delete them. Taking it a step further, we can make it so that Deborah's account, she only has the ability to view records. So she can log in, she can see everyone's records, but she can't actually create anything or make any changes anywhere. Another thing to point out would be making a user inactive. So if we unselected account active and saved it, so let's do that. Now Deborah's account has actually become locked out. So she'd no longer be able to log until we actually unlocked the account and let her uh, let let her log back in. Finally, we could also, you could see we could change a user's name. Now we can't from here we can't actually change the username for a user. So what they use to log in with, that's something that you would email in and say, hey, can you change a username to somebody else? But you can actually change the person's name um, and their email address. If I have a look at oh, and the last thing here for resetting passwords. So if we just wanted to reset the password, say Deborah had lost her password, um, we could do that. If her account was locked out and you reset the password, she's still not going to be able to access it. One last thing we'll go over, but I won't go into a lot of detail about, is this ability to link to other accounts. So let's say you've got not only do you have a team, say in one region of the country, you may have another team in a whole another region of the country, or you may have another entirely different product team. But it's different enough where you would want to have some kind of a separation between teams, not just have them all lumped into one big list. This is obviously this is especially useful when you've got teams of say 30, 40 people or more. Then it can be pretty useful because you can have isolated accounts within Simple Sales Tracking, but you have the ability to link to another one. So it just gives you a little description here about what this is, how this is done. It has to be set up manually at the moment, but in fact, you can see there's one here. So with our own account, so if I wanted to go look at the Eastern Division account, I could do that and click it, and then straight away I'm over there. So if I go into the admin area for them, this is a whole nother different setup. So those same users are not in this account because we've, just by clicking that one button, we've completely switched over to a whole new Simple Sales Tracking account. The start page looks different. The lists of accounts look different. It's completely isolated. But as an admin person, it's very helpful because I could run reports on this group and then easily switch back to the other and then run reports for the other group. So here I am, I'm back at the main account. I can go to admin and all those team members are back in the list. And that covers the video for adding team members and going over security. Thanks for watching.